But as you will see in the 10Q, paid clicks were up 7% year on year, and CPCs were up 7% year on year.
Doug, and to your question around where else can we see more opportunity for efficiency and productivity, and I think you heard me say before, this is not a one-time type of effort, but rather an ongoing way in which we manage the business. And the key here is that the more we drive productivity across our business, the more we can invest in the business for growth and obviously continue to drive improvement in the P&L. Some of the areas are things that you've heard us talk about in the past, such as moderating the pace of headcount growth, optimizing our real estate footprint, but also as we invest more and more in our technical infrastructure, ensuring that we are optimizing that build out and the overall technical infrastructure we have. You know that a lot of the data centers, for example, that we build ourselves, so they're optimized and we make sure we do them in the most efficient way. Sundar mentioned on one of the previous calls the productivity associated with leveraging AI for Google. So it is the example, the percent of code, now nearly half of all code generated by AI. That's a way for us to leverage AI to drive further productivity across the business. And obviously, we always look at making sure that when we provide services or products, that we get the right economics and the right value for what we provide. So one good example is Shorts, which has a lower revenue share than InStream, that it helps to improve some of our gross margins. So this is an effort we have ongoing. I've mentioned in the past that we have a headwind with depreciation, obviously increasing alongside our CapEx increase. So we have efforts across the organization to ensure we run the business in the most disciplined and productive way while continuing to invest for future growth.
Thank you both.
Our next question comes from Eric Sheridan with Goldman Sachs. Your line is now open.
Thank you so much for taking the questions. Maybe two, if I could. Sundar, when you think about your custom silicon efforts across the organization, can you reflect a little bit about the opportunity set you see with each passing generation of custom silicon, both in terms of driving operating efficiencies inside the organization and potentially increased monetization efforts around those outside of the organization? Second question would be for Philip. Obviously, we can see the YouTube advertising revenue number in the reported results. Can you reflect a little bit about the scaling of the subscription side of YouTube offerings and how the two parts in together maybe represent an interesting framework in thinking about the monetization side of YouTube increasingly being a mix of both ads and subscription? Thank you.
Eric, overall, I would say we are seeing substantial demand for our AI infrastructure products, including TPU-based and GPU-based solutions. It is one of the key drivers of our growth over the past year, and I think on a going forward basis, I think we continue to see very strong demand, and we are investing to meet that. I do think a big part of what differentiates Google Cloud, effectively, we've taken a full stack approach to AI. So we are, and that really plays out, right? We are the only hyperscaler who's really building offerings on our own models. And we are also highly differentiated on our own technology. So to your question, I think that does, give us the opportunity to continue driving growth and operating margins in cloud as we have done in the past. And also, I think from a revenue, sets the infrastructure portion of our business to be a growth driver looking ahead as well.
And to the second part of your question, look, just taking a quick step back, we often describe YouTube's business as a flywheel. Obviously, it first all starts with the creators, and we have significantly invested here to be the place that YouTube creators really call their home. That's a big piece of it, the number one piece. Viewers, of course, YouTube has billions of monthly logged-in users, and every day people watch billions of hours of video. And we talked about how our recommendation systems are driving robust watch time growth, and so on and so on. So on the monetization side, YouTube YouTube's business is really powered, I would say, on let's call it a twin engine monetization strategy, combining its advertising business and its growing subscription services. Both YouTube ads and subscriptions saw strong growth this quarter. And so looking at YouTube Music and Premium, users are on average delivering more value to creators, to music, media partners, and YouTube itself than even ad-supported users do. So in other words, on average, a YouTube Music and Premium subscriber generates a meaningful higher gross profit than they were simply an ad-supported users. And fans come from all over the world, you know this, and this engagement through ads and subscription generates YouTube's revenues and funds what I started with, these creators here. And this then drives more viewership and engagement and so on. And that's the flywheel. And so our priority continues like this growth cycle. We're happy with this twin engine monetization strategy.
Our next question comes from Mark Shmulik with Bernstein. Your line is now open.
Yes, thanks for taking the questions. Sundar, with the strong adoption of Gemini, AI mode, and overviews across the user base, are there any meaningful differences to call out kind of around the behavior and depth of engagement for those users across the entire Google ecosystem? And then, Philip, I know we kind of asked this, most quarters, but I'm curious kind of with some of the adoption you've seen around AI overviews and mode, how you see the economics of search evolving with the higher commercial and total query volume and how it kind of compares against the incremental cost to deliver these results. Thank you.
Mark, look, I think obviously AI overviews are a natural part of a Google experience. And so, engagement is very, very high. I would say AI mode, you have a varied cohorts. There are people who are casual users who are checking it out, but there's a core group which really likes AI mode and is passionate about it. And so you see the early adopters, the product is resonating very strongly, and they're seeking it out. So I think that's how I would highlight the difference. With Gemini, again, set of engaged user base who are seeking out the product and so on. But across the board, I think the trajectory has been. We are definitely seeing in each of those use cases a set of early adopters and then more people coming in, and the people who are using it continue to use it more over time and report high user satisfaction. So I would say the underlying product metrics are pretty encouraging to see as well.
Look into the second part of your question. I think we covered before, Sundar covered the query development. And as I've just said before, for the AI overviews, even at our current baseline of ads, right, whether above, below, and within the AI response, overall, we see the monetization at approximately the same rate. And this is a great baseline for further innovation. We talked about this. We're excited about where this can go. And on the AI mode side, we're testing ads in AI mode, and we'll continue to test and learn before we expand this any further. So this in combination with what we mentioned about the commercial query overall development, I think we're in a good place here. You could also argue that on queries that historically have not been well monetized, we think there's a potential opportunity here where you can obviously imagine that we can build this out with smart AI integration.
Our next question comes from Michael Nathanson with MoffettNathanson. Your line is now open.
Thanks. I have two, one for Philip, one for Anat. Philip, it's clear that when people use AI mode, the query length is much longer. Can you talk about how that longer length may be impacting your ability to drive ROAS and what you're seeing in terms of some of the benefits of maybe longer query length? And then, Anat, you came to Alphabet from a pharmaceutical company. You've been there more than a year. Can you talk a bit about how you're working to look at ROIC internally, and what early signs are you seeing that gives you confidence that this spending is really driving better returns longer term? Thanks.
Look, as Sundar shared, AI mode now has over 75 million daily active users in the US, and we see strong and consistent week-over-week growth in usage since launch, and the queries doubled over the quarter. And as I also mentioned, we're testing ads in AI mode. We'll continue to test before we expand any further. It's really too early to tell and go into any of the details of that testing.
Okay.
Yes, and the question related to ROIC and how we look at just overall our business and where do we see early signs that are encouraging. So first, I would say it's not just early signs because we're seeing returns, obviously, in the cloud business. You've heard us talk about the fact that we already are generating billions of dollars from AI in the quarter. But then across the board, we have a rigorous framework and approach by which we evaluate these long-term investments that are meant to do two things. One is to ensure we build a resilient growth profile for the company, but also that we meet the demand of the customers that we have here in the more near and midterm. So we look at it across the business. We evaluate the potential return for each one of them, whether it's in cloud, and I think that's more visible, obviously, externally, given that you see the revenue generated and the fact that we're unable to meet at this point customer demand. We have more demand than we have supplied. In our ads business, you see the fact that we're investing to transform search, as you heard from Philip and Sundar with AIO and AI mode. So we're excited to see what our investments are, how the investors are helping advertisers as well. YouTube, where it's helping power recommendations. So when we make a decision on investment in the long term, we go through a very rigorous process of assessing what the return could be and over what time frame we will see that return to give us the high level of confidence to then invest and make those investments for the long term. So it's a very rigorous approach.
Thanks.
Our next question comes from Ross Sandler with Barclays. Your line is now open.
Great. About 20% of Google's search queries are commercial historically, and you've talked a bunch on this call about how AI overviews are kind of expanding the breadth of queries. Could you talk about how new products on the monetization side, like AI Max, are potentially increasing the percent of commercial queries?
So, look, AI Max, and I mentioned this in my call before, improves the ability for advertisers to target a wider range of queries. Separately, there is the question of whether queries actually increase with AI mode, and Sundar actually talked about it and mentioned the opportunity that he sees here. So I think it's important to separate those two things. And I personally also see, this is what I just said in my last remark, that I think over time there's an opportunity to actually take, let's say, queries that are not fully commercial, but could have an adjacent commercial relationship to basically expand this into more attractive ads offerings without, while really creating a really interesting user experience at the same time.
Yeah, and the only thing I would add is just stepping back broadly, I think AI overviews and AI mode are, dramatically improving search. We can see it in user satisfaction, user quality, all our metrics. And they're universal in the nature. They apply across the universality of human needs. So I think we are seeing it in breadth. And so, naturally over time, that'll apply to commercial categories as well.
Our next question comes from Ken Gawrelski with Wells Fargo. Your line is now open.
Thank you very much. Two questions, please. First, it appears more and more clear that all the new modes, whether at Google with Gemini overview, AI overviews, AI mode, even ChatGPT, is growing the addressable market for engagement in search-like behavior. Could you talk about what gives you confidence that it will also grow the addressable market for marketing activity and overall revenue associated with that behavior? That's question one. And question two is just more about, as you think about AI mode, AI overviews, and traditional Google search, how do you think, do you see a world in 12 to 24 months, those all will exist? And does the user eventually pick what mode they want? Does the algorithm pick the mode? Can you talk a little bit about how you think that will progress over the next 12 to 24 months? Thank you very much.
Ken, thanks. Look, I think, it's a dynamic moment, and, I think we are meeting people in the moment with what they are trying to do. Obviously, search is evolving, and between AI overviews and AI mode, I think we are able to kind of give that range of experience for people in this moment. Over time, you can expect us to make the experiences simpler in a way that, just like we did universal search many years ago, we may have done text search, image search, video search, etc., and then we kind of brought it together as universal search. So you will see evolutions like that, but I think we want to be sensitive to making sure we are meeting the users, in terms of what they are looking for. I think Gemini allows us to build a more personal, proactive, powerful AI assistant for that moment, and I think having the two surfaces, Search and Gemini, allows us to really serve users across the breadth of their needs. But over time, we will thoughtfully look for opportunities to make the experience better for users. And to the first part, I would broadly say, I do think we've been consistently saying for a while now, this is an expansionary moment, and we are seeing people engage more. And I think when they do that, naturally a portion of that information for users, those journeys are commercial in nature. So I would expect that to play out over time as well.
Our last question comes from Justin Post with BAML. Your line is now open.
Great. Just a couple. Sundar, I think you mentioned Gemini 3 is coming. Maybe you comment on the pace of innovation in frontier models. Is there still just a tremendous amount of innovation, or is it slowing at all? And then you mentioned, a number of large deals signed in the last 9 months for cloud, which is great. Any changes in the economics of these deals as far as long-term profitability? Anything we should be aware of? Thank you.
Thanks, Justin. The first on the pace of frontier model research and development. Look, I think two things are both simultaneously true. I'm incredibly impressed by the pace at which the teams are executing and the pace at which we are improving these models. But it also is true at the same time that each of the prior model you're trying to get better over is now getting more and more capable. So I think both the pace is increasing, but sometimes we are taking the time to put out a notably improved model. So I think that may take slightly longer, but I do think the underlying pace is phenomenal to see, and I'm excited about our Gemini 3.0 release later this year. On cloud, I would point out, as a sign of the momentum, I think the number of deals greater than $1 billion that we signed, in the first 3 quarters of this year are greater than the 2 years prior. So we are definitely seeing strong momentum, and we are executing at pace. And in terms of long-term economics, I would say that, again, us being a full stack AI player, and the fact that we are developing highly differentiated products on our own technology, I think will help us, drive a good trajectory here, as you have seen over the past few years.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you. And that concludes our question and answer session for today. I'd like to turn the conference